Kia ora, I'm Erin J. Doyle. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hello! I'm a poet, a biologist, and when it's safe to do so, something of an adventurer. And one of my current adventures is the journey to complete my debut novel. So if these are things that you find interesting, hit subscribe and ring the bell and those kinds of things so you can keep up to date with the various adventuring and rambling that is to come. On to the topic of the day, which is kind of a nano wrap up, I guess. I feel like I've already done this because I finished, or won I should say, nano on the 7th of November. And I feel like I've just haven't made a significant amount of progress and there's not really much to share, but it's still the end of nano and I need to do something to kind of acknowledge and celebrate. So I thought I would do the AuthorTube character tag, which I saw on Joey Paul's channel, which I will leave a link to in the description. She didn't know who the tag had originally been created by, so neither do I. So if you know, leave it in the comments and I'll pop it in the description so that the creator is appropriately acknowledged. So moving on to the tag, I'm going to answer these questions specifically focusing on my NaNoWriMo project rather than any of the other projects that are in other stages of written or editing, etc. So I'm just looking at the 55,000 word NaNoWriMo project that I've been working on for the last month, which, if you haven't been here earlier or you haven't picked up on the various clues I've dotted around, is a fairy tale retelling. The fairy tale is The Little Mermaid. It is a sci-fi adventure in space. So The Little Mermaid is actually an alien. I judge myself for that. Here we go. Question 1. A crazy-ass hacker got into your computer and deleted your entire writing playlist with the exception of one song. Which song is it? For this nano, I didn't actually have a playlist. I just listened to whatever YouTube spat out at me, which for some reason was a colossal amount of techno. I don't have techno like on iTunes or on any saved playlist anywhere, but YouTube apparently knew because I was really into it. Like, I was listening to this, music and I was just writing and it was great. Kind of weird that it doesn't suit the tone or aesthetic of my story in any way, but yeah, apparently techno is the writing song for this story. So which song? Probably a remix of the Mortal Kombat theme song. Like, I just had so many remixes of that and some other stuff that I don't recognise, but that was the one that I definitely recognised. So yeah, Mortal Kombat theme song. Okay, question 2. Your protagonist and your antagonist appeared together to go out to lunch. Where did they go? So one of my protagonists doesn't eat, so I'm just gonna ignore that character because that would be awkward. I feel like probably a Mexican restaurant. Question 3. You're crossing a bridge and a troll stops you and demands you give him a chapter of your book to read. Which chapter do you choose? Probably the first encounter chapter between the human characters and the mermaid character. That seems like a good place to start, even though that's not necessarily where the story starts. But yeah, surely that's the chapter I would give the troll. Right? I guess it depends what the troll actually wants, but that's not in the question, so we're going to move on. Okay, question 4. Your friends are having a party and surprise! All your characters are there. Who would you hang out with the most? There's probably like a subset of characters that I'd hang out with. there's Marcia, who's a microbiologist, so I'd definitely be hanging out with her just because commonality, it would make conversation easy. And then there's Nathaniel and Tony, who are just kind of high energy and fun, and I think they would be a good time if there was drinking involved. And then there's Turquoise, who is non-human, and I would definitely have questions to ask her. I would so want to talk to her, and she's nice, so that would also be helpful. But there's a massive communication barrier because she is profoundly deaf, and at the beginning of the story also illiterate and doesn't speak sign. So hanging out with her would be awesome if there was a way for us to communicate. So it might be like later in the book Turquoise, who's like learned how to read and write and picked up sign and that kind of thing. Because otherwise I think I'd panic and not know how to proceed. Okay, question 5. You somehow managed to lock your keys into your apartment. Which character would help you pick a lock to get back in? I think there's actually a couple of engineers in my cast, so probably any of them could get me in. But I think like if I had to just call someone and be like, oh my god, help me, I'd probably call Nathaniel, who would be very up to the challenge but then not have the skill, and then he would call Tony, who would actually come and get the door open. But Nathaniel would provide a lot of amusement and emotional support that would get me through the traumatic experience of being locked out of my house. In this scenario, I guess I need to get in really badly. Perhaps I need to pee in my version of this story. So yeah, I would call Nathaniel because he'd bring Tony, and together they make one hyper-competent person who would make me feel better and get me back into the house. Okay, question 6. It is the zombie apocalypse. Everyone is heading to Mars and you can only take one character with you. Who do you take? Okay, so again, because maybe just because I've got a big cast of characters, so there's a couple of options. So there's the it would be a nice thing to do option would be to take Thomas, because he is really passionate about space travel and is not an astronaut, so it would be like his one chance as my +1 to get to Mars. Failing that and going more for like who I would like to hang out with person, possibly again Nathaniel would be hilarious. Marcia or Iris, like there's quite a few of them who are really just like fun, competent people. Maybe this is telling me actually that I need to diverse up my characters in terms of character traits. It's like, oh yes, they're all good. Should they be? That's a good point. But yeah, probably Nathaniel or Marcia are probably going to be my picks for any kind of which character do you want to take with you moment, just because they're both personalities that I generally choose to have around me anyway. Where am I up to? Question 7. You've been given the ability to travel anywhere in your book. Where would you go? New Earth. I mean, it's a different planet. Obviously, that's where I would go. That planet may get a different name, but currently that's what it's called in the draft. Okay, question 8. You meet your main character and you want to introduce yourself and get a conversation going, but you can only do it in 6 words or less. What do you say? This is implying a certain degree of social skill on my part. Assuming the ability to communicate effectively, I would rock up to Turquoise and just be like, hey, so tell me about yourself, because non-human, she would have things to say. If I couldn't communicate effectively, I don't know. Talking with humans is hard. I would probably approach Dipti, because at events she tends to dress quite traditional, like she's like full saris and, you know, gold jewelry and that kind of thing, but is also a spaceship captain. So I would probably start something very subtly, like, you know, complimenting her beautiful sari, but my interest would actually be talking about the space travel, and I'd just hope that we could get there via the pretty dress. Question 9. Crazy acid rain is falling. Which character would you use as an umbrella? Well, obviously the antagonist. Like, who else deserves to get acid rained on? Or actually, Turquoise, because I don't think she would be harmed by it. Okay, question 10. You are out to dinner with your main character and it is time to order dessert. What dessert do you order for them? Turquoise doesn't eat, so that takes me down to Eric. What would I order for Eric? I don't think he's eaten a sweet thing in the entire story, so I don't have much to go on. I feel like he's a cheesecake kind of guy. Yeah, I'd order him a cheesecake. Possibly like one of those like French vanilla ones with like raspberry coulis kind of thing. Yeah, like delicious and respectable, but not the most outlandish or fun thing. Like he's definitely not a, you know, spicy chocolate ice cream kind of guy. Okay, that is the end. Those are the questions. That was surprisingly more difficult than I thought it would be. And I think actually an interesting thing to do, just because I was suddenly like, oh, actually I have no idea. That's the end of the tag, so that'll be the end of the video as well. If you liked this video, give it a like and I'll see you next time. Bye!